We're going to talk about responsibility and why people like me used to view responsibility as punishment and or responsibility as control. Where that comes from and how religious retards create it because they're retarded. Um, so first of all, let's read the definition of responsibility here. I don't really fully agree with these. I don't. It feels like somebody just fucked them up. But the state or effect of having duty to deal with something or having control over someone. How the fuck is having control over someone responsibility? You're in control of that person. You just tell them what to do. Trust me, everybody in this church has no agency. You just tell them what to do and they do it because they're idiots. Okay. The state or fact of being accountable or to blame for something. Blame and accountability are not the same thing. Religious people do this all the time. Blame and accountability are not the same thing, so I do not agree with that definition at all. Okay. I worked with two or three guys that literally couldn't differentiate between blame and responsibility. In their brains, because they were the victims, blaming other people and then calling it responsibility was how everything worked. They had zero responsibility on their end, and everything was everybody else's fault because they had no agency in their lives. And when you have no agency, you're a perpetual victim brain. You don't have to be smart to understand that. So let's talk about it. Their religion removes agency, so now they're the victim in everything. And that removes accountability, and then once accountability's gone, it turns into a blame game. Everything is everybody else's fault, and they're the victims in it. No, sir, your violent, stupid religion created these circumstances. You are accountable. Okay. The opportunity or ability to act independently and make decisions without authorization. That one makes sense to me. That's the one we're going to go with. The opportunity or ability to make the opportunity or ability to act independently and make decisions without authorization. I always viewed responsibility as obligation, personally, when I was younger. Because that's how it was explained to me. But, you might go, hey, Bobby, why do you think religion, destroys responsibility? Well, one, the ultimate excuse, it's my religion. It's my religion. It's my religion. And it's an excuse. It's your violent, stupid religion. It shouldn't affect other people. It should affect you, and you alone. Now, in regards to this, one of the things that I remember talking about was narcissist in particular, because every reaction is an overreaction. And this is really stupid because Anal Eating Mummy God, I guess he was projecting or something when I was at Papa John's, where he was talking about this guy, who was me, who's supposed to go to court, and he was basically begging me not to overreact. He was explaining to me over the phone that there are these certain people who have a really bad habit of overreacting in court. And whatever you do, don't overreact. And I just ignored him because at that point in my life, I wasn't known for overreacting. Because I've never realized that I was just constantly being harassed by a bunch of retards. But I don't know why he did that, but it's a thing I just remembered recently where I had an entire conversation with this guy, with Anal Eating Mummy God, about responsibility and how he himself didn't fully comprehend responsibility. But what we got into is what happens when you make a punishment disproportionate to the crime. And he really didn't like this conversation, and I'm about to talk about this. Let's talk about it. In America, it's like 30, 40, 50 years, like 20, 30 years for marijuana or cocaine or any drug use. And we know people use drugs because they're depressed or they're mentally ill, okay? They don't need to be in prison, they need psychological help. But we don't do socialism in America, so prison is the answer to everything. You're either going to behave, you're going to do what capitalism wants you to do, or we're going to put you in prison forever. Now, capitalism can't deal with addiction because addiction is irrational, and you can make a lot of money off of addiction, as the sugar industry. So, yeah. Anyways, so we get into this conversation talking about, like, you, and basically eat mummy god because everything's under the threat of death. He's like, well, if everything's under the threat of death, then people will do everything they can to follow the rules. I was like, okay, I was like, but let's talk about this. There was a Roman emperor. He did everything under the threat of death. Like, if you jaywalked in Rome, they murdered your ass. Okay, this guy had an entire thing about head rolling and talking about how every law needs to be enforced under the threat of death. That way people follow it better. Well, here's the statistics. Nobody actually changed the way they behaved, but they did change their response to responsibility when questioned or, like, arrested by what the Roman equivalent would be to the police. They began lying and blaming others and running away from, say it with me, responsibility. They were terrified of the punishment of getting their heads chopped off, so they got other innocent people killed, to which Elite Mummy God said that's a good thing, because if you're dealing with, like, organized crime, and you tell a guy, oh, we caught you smoking weed, you're going to get 40 years in prison, unless you give us the drug dealer, that's smart, that's good, that I was like, but that person, for their entire lives, will be terrified of taking responsibility for anything. I was like, okay, so you caught the drug dealer, congratulations. I was like, there are other ways of catching drug dealers. And secondly, they're all created by the CIA, so we don't really have to worry about the drug problem in America, because it's all fictitious anyways. So, anyway, Eddie went, because he didn't like that response. And it's true, by the way. Now, we, on the subject of responsibility, he was like, well, okay, so that guy starts running from responsibility, but, he fucked up because he did drugs to begin with. He did drugs because he was disadvantaged. He did drugs because he was mentally ill. He did drugs because he made a mistake. He did drugs because he was raped. You guys drop LSD, you're no different than a fucking crackhead in the gutter. Stop pretending you are. As we explored this topic of disproportionate punishments, he basically alluded to, well, he was disproportionately punished, and I guarantee you, I told him, I was like, I guarantee you, when you actually messed up, and you're going to lie to me and tell me you never made a mistake a day in your life, you got innocent people killed, or you got innocent people punished because you were terrified of the consequences of your actions. You were terrified of responsibility. And there was a complete silence that fell over the phone. And it's because I was right. Okay? And this feeds into all this shit. And this is how religion kills responsibility. It removes all agency from a person. When a person has no agency, they have no responsibility. They do not care about consequences. This is why when I brought up the whole equal and opposite reaction when talking to these people, they began to get confused because they're like, oh no, there's no consequences for my actions. I just do things, and then the church goes out and threatens to kill people if they try to retaliate against me because I'm the victim in it because of my violent, stupid religion. This is, you might go, Bobby, this doesn't sound no, this is extremely important. Because this isn't just drug people who run into this, especially if you're a member of the church. Breaking the rules becomes a death sentence. Breaking the rules causes you to ornately want to lie to not be dead. It causes you to sit around finger pointing and blaming and saying it's other people's fault, and then it turns into, and these people do it all the time. This is why they try, it's a stupid thing with religious people where they try to outsmart their own Bible. They try to outsmart their own religion and circumnavigate the bullshit of their made up stupid bullshit. And what is that? That is running from responsibility and actively using your brain to run from responsibility. Let's make up an example. Let's say your religion's against being gay. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna go to a gay bar, but I'm gonna not know that the gay guy I'm having sex with is a man. Therefore, my Bible, because I didn't know it was a man, then I didn't have gay sex. Okay. And then, i.e., there I can't be held to account. I can't be responsible for being gay. That sounds really stupid because you're gay. Okay. And that would be the responsibility end of that. It's just admitting you're fucking gay. And it would be a lot easier for the world if you did that. And yourself. But you can't because of your violent, stupid religion. Once again. And anal eating mummy god himself began to get really confused because in his brain, responsibility is blame. You find some cuck, and then you cuck them with your shit, and then you run off, and what is that? That is the ultimate form of running from responsibility. That is the act of a genuine, fully functional man-child. This is exactly what women are getting upset about. This is why women aren't reproducing. This is why women absolutely hate men, because religion and potentially toxic male masculinity involves cucking others with blame and then running from responsibility on all costs. Okay. This when I was explaining this to Anal Eating Mummy God, he had this weird lament. Some type of, I don't even know how to explain it. I just remember this conversation back and forth with him, and then him just basically trying to explain to me if I go to court not to overreact. Whatever you do, don't just try to go after everyone. And then dude, there's this entire part of my brain that's like hypnotized, and it's a bunch of shit I did that he basically didn't want me to know I did. Cause I guess he was scared. I don't fucking know. I'm not even gonna pretend, because this is what happens when you opt for authoritarian control over logic and reason, and sitting down and explaining to people what's going on, and you run from responsibility. Once again, these people refusing to give me the $4 billion they owe me. That is running from responsibility. Okay, that is a lack of agency. And this is why these people are man-children, and this is another reason why they need their wives under the threat of death, because there's no way to get them when they see that they just run from responsibility. I didn't do anything, it wasn't me, victim, victim, victim. And I'm just going to be clear on this, victim mindset is a part of this church's rhetoric. Being the victim in everything is like the holy grail. Which enables you to not have agency or responsibility. Yeah. So, I think about now in my life, and I think about, like, I always think it's a mistake of mine. I realize one of the bigger options I have is I literally know exactly how cults work and how anally raping people gives you control over them, and how getting them addicted to drugs instead of actually telling them to get psychological help enables you to have control over them. And I know all the cult tactics. And I realize now that one of the weirder things I could possibly do is just put together a plan, disappear, start my own cult, get it recognized as a religion, and then just go after these people in a 4 times as violent, 4 times as aggressive, 4 times, and then just explain, specifically in my cult, just explain to them that these people are complete pieces of shit and everything they do is disingenuine and fake. And as these people believe they're being smart, as these people believe they're manipulating my guy, just staring at them knowing they're full of shit, and they're, we're not like that, we're good people, don't, and my guy's just like, and I just pictured my dudes even, like, in prison, and there's just still large numbers of people getting killed in America, and fucking ending with the United States going, there's 2 violent religious groups just slaughtering each other in the streets of America. We need to get rid of the separation of church and state, and we need to get rid of religion. These people are violent and stupid. And once again, the number one religious tactic is they hire a member of their church to do a mass shooting. They hire a member of their church to do a bombing. And then they go, oh, that guy was just an individual. He wasn't part of ours. And I think that'll be a heavy rhetoric on my end in dealing in my cult. Me just being like, yeah, no, we don't take responsibility for that because we're religion. And I pictured like saying that in court would just be the jaw drop as everybody just, oh, that's what religion does. We should probably get rid of it. It's probably why every man in America behaves like a 2-year-old. These are just my thoughts for now. Yeah.